Welcome to the debate. Right now, well, a large language model is probably parsing your emails.
Oh, and a routing algorithm is definitely dictating your commute today.
Right, exactly. Or an automated filter might very well be deciding whether a recent graduate's resume ever even makes it to a human hiring manager. So we are, living in a world completely governed by predictive models, which forces us to confront a pretty fundamental question.
Yeah, is this rapid integration of artificial intelligence creating like a new paradigm of human collaboration that actually elevates our potential?
Or, on the flip side, are we recklessly outsourcing our agency, our workforce, and our moral accountability to fundamentally flawed systems?
That is exactly the tension we have to resolve today. I mean, the stakes really could not be higher.
I approach this from the perspective that AI is a revolutionary, collaborative partner. It is a force multiplier. We aren't talking about some monolithic sci-fi machine. We're talking about a broad field of computational methods that process enormous amounts of data at unprecedented speeds.
Right, but
And because it can do that, it's accelerating complex discoveries in climate modeling and medical diagnostics. It expands what the human mind can achieve when we just aren't bogged down by the sheer volume of data.
And I come at this from a much more cautious angle. The breakneck speed of AI's adoption brings profound, unresolved risks that actively undermine human agency. We are rushing to integrate systems that, frankly, frequently hallucinate facts and obscure reality through synthetic media.
I mean, hallucination is a known issue, sure.
It is, but my concern is that without intense scrutiny and a real understanding of how these systems function under the hood, humanity risks surrendering its critical thought, and ultimately its accountability, to systems optimized for plausible outputs, not truth.
So let's ground this immediately in what is arguably the most urgent concern for a massive portion of our listeners. If you are a college student right now or a junior professional entering the workforce, there is this palpable fear.
Oh, absolutely. The fear that the entry-level jobs you're studying for simply will not exist in a few years.
Right. But historically, while technology automates repetitive tasks, it ultimately explodes demand. It creates entirely new categories of work. When a task becomes vastly cheaper and faster to do, the demand for it just scales up.
Okay, so you're relying on the Jevons paradox there, the idea that increasing efficiency increases demand. But I really have to push back on applying historical analogies to this specific technology.
Why? I mean, the Industrial Revolution did exactly this.
Well, when the mechanical loom was invented, it automated physical muscle, right? It did not learn from the weaver. AI is fundamentally different because it's automating cognition.
Hold on. Let me interrupt right there. When you use a phrase like automating cognition, that makes it sound like the machine is actually thinking. It isn't. It's just highly advanced math.
That is a crucial clarification, yeah. No, it isn't thinking in a biological sense. It's mapping inputs to outputs using billions of mathematical parameters. It operates through gradient descent.
Right, taking millions of practice tests and tweaking the weights.
Exactly. Essentially checking its error rate and adjusting its internal weights slightly until it gets the answer right. It mimics reasoning. But from a purely economic standpoint, the labor market doesn't actually care if the machine is thinking or just predicting the next word in a sequence.
I mean, sure, the output is what matters to a business.
Right. So if an AI can draft legal briefs or write functional boilerplate code instantly, the entry-level tasks where young professionals traditionally cut their teeth are just gone. How does a junior software developer ever become a senior architect if an AI like Copilot is doing 80% of their foundational coding?
Well,
We are essentially removing the training wheels of the entire economy.
I hear that fear, I really do. But you are assuming the nature of the job remains static. Let's say entry-level legal research takes seconds instead of weeks. Law firms won't fire all their junior associates. They will just take on vastly more complex cases.
You think they won't just pocket the profit and shrink the staff?
I think the role of the junior associate shifts. They stop being data gatherers and start acting as strategists. And this is exactly why our educational systems must pivot rapidly. Students shouldn't be graded on their ability to memorize and generate standard text anymore.
So what are we grading them on?
They need to be taught how to evaluate, critique, and direct the output of these models. The AI handles the execution, but the human dictates the strategy. The essential human skills for the future workforce will be critical thinking, complex problem solving, and effective communication.
That is a massive leap to ask of a 22-year-old, though. You are asking recent graduates to instantly operate at the strategic level of a senior partner because the foundational work has been automated away.
It's a faster ramp up, sure.
It's a huge friction point. In the real world, that gap is going to be incredibly disruptive to the workforce.
Okay, but if we concede that AI is moving up the cognitive ladder, we have to look at what happens when it steps into spaces we previously thought were completely walled off, like creativity and the arts.
Yeah, this is where things get really uncomfortable for a lot of people.
We are seeing AI compose music, generate video, write poetry. But I view this as an extraordinary tool for human brainstorming. The AI isn't experiencing inspiration. Take AI image generation, for example.
Right, the diffusion models. Exactly. It uses diffusion models. It essentially starts with static, pure visual noise, and iteratively removes that noise based on statistical probabilities of how pixels relate to specific text tags in its training data. It is literally just a tool awaiting human curation.
But that exact mechanism is why we have to be really careful about equating it with human creativity. True creativity isn't just probabilistic pattern recognition.
Isn't it, though?
No, it requires intention, personal experience, and a desire to communicate a lived reality. When a human paints a canvas, there is an intent to convey something genuine. A diffusion model doesn't know what sadness is.
Well, obviously it doesn't feel sadness. Right. It merely calculates that the word tears has a high mathematical probability of appearing near the word sadness, based on millions of data points. If we flood our culture with synthetic, statistically generated media, we absolutely diminish the genuine human connection that art is fundamentally designed to foster.
Okay, I have to jump in here. Isn't human creativity also a highly advanced form of pattern recognition? I mean, an artist learns by studying the masters, observing the world, internalizing cultural context.
Sure, but
And then they synthesize it into something new. The AI operates on just a mechanistic version of this. It gives the human artist an infinitely capable brush. A human still has to write the prompt, curate the output, and assign meaning to the final piece.
I completely disagree that it's just a more capable brush. The human synthesizes based on a conscious lived reality. The AI synthesizes based on mathematical weights without comprehension.
But the output is still directed by the human.
Yes, but this lack of underlying comprehension brings us to an even more dangerous precipice. If AI lacks intention in art, how can we possibly trust its judgment in critical, real-world decisions where the stakes are life and death?
Because in real-world decisions, machine judgment offers something humans simply cannot: unparalleled scale and consistency.
Scale, yes. Consistency, I'm not so sure.
Think about a medical diagnostic AI, right? Parsing a petabyte of historical imaging data to find early markers of disease, or a system optimizing traffic grids in real time to prevent accidents.
Okay, yes, those are valid use cases.
The machine does this without fatigue, without getting distracted, and without the cognitive limits humans hit when we are overwhelmed by massive data sets.
But it also does this without empathy, without wisdom, or context. Optimization can be ruthlessly efficient but entirely blind to human reality. Furthermore, when the system inevitably fails, who is accountable?
What do you mean by fails?
Say that medical diagnostic tool misdiagnoses a patient because its training data was fundamentally flawed or incomplete. Who holds the moral accountability? We can't put a neural network on the witness stand to ask why it made a decision.
Well, no, of course not.
So society has not solved the structural accountability required to trust these systems with critical choices.
Let me introduce an analogy here because I think it clarifies exactly where the line of accountability must be drawn. Think of AI as an incredibly fast, highly read, but entirely uncredentialed research assistant.
Uncredentialed is doing a lot of heavy lifting there.
But it's true. It is invaluable for gathering data, finding hidden correlations, and presenting options. But it absolutely requires a human principal investigator to verify those facts and apply moral judgment before making a final decision.
So the human takes the fall.
The ultimate accountability always remains with the human overseeing the system. We don't blame the MRI machine if a doctor misinterprets a scan, right?
That is a very revealing analogy, but it highlights exactly what I'm warning against. There's this phenomenon called automation bias.
Where people just trust the machine blindly?
Exactly. Your uncredentialed research assistant works so fast, generates so much output, and presents its findings with such extreme mathematical confidence that the principal investigator increasingly falls asleep at the wheel.
I mean, that is a human error problem, not an AI problem.
But humans naturally defer to the machine because it is cognitively easier. The systemic risk isn't that the machine suddenly becomes malicious. The risk is that the human becomes compliant, blindly signing off on automated decisions and outsourcing their ethical responsibility.
So bringing this full circle, we are looking at two highly divergent views of the exact same mechanism. I maintain that when paired with active, critical human collaboration, AI provides the computational power necessary to solve the most complex, data-heavy problems of our time.
And you see it as a transformative tool that elevates what we can achieve.
Precisely.
Well, and I maintain that the sheer speed of its deployment is frankly outpacing our ability to adapt. From displacing foundational workforce training for students to generating highly convincing but synthetic realities, AI introduces massive vulnerabilities.
Which requires scrutiny. I agree.
Intense structural scrutiny, yes. Before we outsource our most critical thinking to a statistical model.
Yet we do converge on one undeniable reality here. This technology is reshaping the world faster than nearly anything that has come before it. Its impact isn't predetermined, though. It is entirely dependent on the architecture we choose to build and the guardrails we put in place today.
Right, which forces us to ask the ultimate question for the next decade. In a world where a machine can process data, write code, and synthesize art faster than we ever could, what makes a human irreplaceable?
That is the big question.
It forces us to realize our value was never in our processing speed or our ability to retrieve data. It is in our curiosity, our wisdom, our ability to sit with a moral dilemma and choose a path based on human experience.
Yeah. Those are the qualities no mathematical weight can ever replicate. The code may be written and algorithms may run at light speed, but the context, the meaning, and the final choices are entirely ours.
I think there's still a lot to explore on how we actually enforce that moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. The listener will have to decide for themselves if we're ready, because the future won't be decided by the tools we build, but by what we decide to build with them.